My name is David LaMere. I'm with LaMere Family Travel. We're a local company here in Coralville, started in April. Um, just- we'll click on the right screen. So I'll just quickly kind of go over our history, services, future, tours, and then if you have any questions. So basically, I started my career driving school buses in New York State. I quickly jumped into the charter coach side of the business. So everything I've learned has been hands-on. Um, Learned a lot about the industry. Also, growing up with my grandmother, she was a trip coordinator for her senior center, as well as we went on many trips together. My roots do run deep in the business, and I don't have any end in sight. My oldest son, Mike, and my youngest daughter, Kayla, are both interested in learning more about the business and coming on board in the future to guarantee LaMere Family Travel for a long, successful journey. So just a little bit about me. I was originally born and raised in upstate New York by my grandparents. My grandmother was a frequent traveler, took me along with her often. So I always enjoyed traveling and knew at a young age this is what I wanted to do with my life. Actually, if you track back to kindergarten and it says, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" It says bus driver. Um, and after high school, I became a family man, started having kids, working in the industry as soon as I was of age. Um, Moved to Northwest Indiana 2005, continued driving school bus and motor coach out of the Chicagoland area. And then in 2008, I gave up school buses for quite some time and went full time into motor coach and continued to learn more. So instead of just weekend trips and summer trips, I was able to get full country, go for long periods of time. When I moved to um, Iowa, I worked for a company in Davenport, and I've done um, even more extended trips where I've gone. Like I had the Chinese acrobats on North America tour, and I was gone for half a year with them. So extended periods of time away from home and learning about every aspect of the industry. So instead of just charters, I learned performance tours. I learned all sorts of different things. All this has come together, and from 2017 to 2019, I moved over here to Iowa City, managed a motor coach company that has since taken all the business I brought them and moved back to their corporate office. We'll just run it from here. So they brought me in just to gain customers and clients and leave me hanging, kind of, so to speak. So I decided once I left there that it was time to stop working for others and start my own company. Plan was to start my own company in 2019. An investor that was interested in investing, we just couldn't, since I had gotten part-time jobs to get through. We could never line up a time to get that going, and I ended up, and then the pandemic hit, so we were very grateful that we didn't get it going then, and just basically came back out of the pandemic and opened in April this year. So what we do is we offer a comprehensive set of tour packages to suit all needs. Whether you're looking for a package deal in the sun to suit the whole family or a quiet couples retreat, we have packages for travel accommodations and sightseeing. Individuals to large groups. I'm working with like an individual right now on just a little personal getaway. I'm also working with a family on their family trip for spring break. And then I got an email overnight last night for another as well trip for Christmas this year. We can customize for anybody, destinations, whether it be corporate, individual, personal, families, whatever. We do the event planning side, so weddings, destination weddings, local weddings, sorry, conventions, corporate events, family reunions, birthdays, honeymoon packages. Then we also specialize in our bus tours. So we put together tours all over, currently the US, a little bit into Canada every once in a while. And those will depart from Coralville or Davenport in Iowa and travel different places. We do offer travel insurance. I know I heard some people talking about travel earlier. Um, a lot of flights that are not doing refunds currently, the travel insurance would pick that up. So if anybody, um, even if we don't arrange a trip, we can help you get an insurance policy to cover the cost of cover your trip. Um, and we have the ability to do flights, cruises, rental cars, and hotels. We're currently having issues with our cruise system, but everything else is working. So in the future, we plan to add a fleet of motor coaches. That is our goal. Just kind of watching for grants right now because we don't have the ability to do that on our own credit at this point. But we are hoping to do that. From managing a bus company, I do know that I can come into an area with buses and I can very quickly build that market. And I've proven that already. So this was a trip, just to give you an example of what we do. This was a trip we just did this past month. It was a small group, still kind of leery of travel with the current pandemic going on. And they so we ended up having just a small group. So we converted it from a van, and it actually from a motor coach to a van, and it actually was very well received. We were able, instead of just a handful of bridges, we were able to go to all 31 bridges in that county, and everybody has been raving about the trip since they got back. I know I've met up with some people since then, and they were like, "Oh, my friend went on your trip, and that's all she talks about." And like this was 2 days after the trip, and she's like, "She's brought me to your site 3 times trying to get me to sign up for one of your trips." So it's the ones that did go on that trip very well liked it. So this is the trip leaving next week. Sales have closed on it, but we have it set. So that's just another example. So you have like festival trips, show trips like this one to Branson. It just gives you an idea what we do. This is one trip we do have. It is on our website available now. It's the first one of 2022 that we have up and live. So that'll be our Southern Porches 2022. It's a complete VIP experience down in South Carolina and Georgia. The St. Patrick's Savannah has the second largest St. Patrick's Day parade in the country after New York City. And we have a full VIP celebration party there at the parade with an air conditioned tent and everything else right off of the side of the parade. So definitely something to think about. And then this is currently our list of 2022 season, what we're in the process of planning. So if there's anything there that sparks your interest, we should have it on our website in the next few months. So we really enjoy getting those trips together and giving everybody a little of everything. So anybody have questions?
If you were to say you were looking for one type of client, I know you and I have spoken in the past about like churches, for example. Yes. What would you say you're most comfortable or most excited, or who are you most excited to work with?
I really enjoy working with anybody. I like the challenge of putting things together that I haven't done before. So I've, with honeymoons, like the first honeymoon I put together this year was to Thailand, and I didn't know anything about Thailand, but I do partner with a company that has representatives specifically for each country, or a portion of a country if it's a large country. And so I have partners partnered with that company, and we can put together, and there's plenty of things that I continue to learn. One example with that company is that for the honeymoon is when they're in Chiang Mai, they have a family that's going to come out to the hotel, pick up the couple. They're going to take them around for the day, teach them the culture, take them back to their home, and teach them how to cook Thai food, and then have them join their entire family for dinner that night before bringing them back. John Q. Public, so to speak, nobody's going to be able to set that up on their own without a direct connection in the country. So that's one really cool thing with that partnership. But that's the type of thing I like, is when people come to me and say, "Hey, I want to do this," and being able to do that. And they just got an email overnight last night. Um, and they had started putting a trip together themselves, and it's not going so well. So they want me to come back and basically fix what they've messed up, so to speak. And so that'll be a good challenge for this week for me.
How much of your business is travel related versus like event planning? I know you said you plan like weddings and other events. I'm curious about that. I know like with your name, like I would not think that you would plan events too, you know?
Right. Yeah. My primary focus is the travel. So I'd like to say like 80-85% is the travel planning and the bus tours, and eventually having the motor coaches. Um, and doing the event planning is something I've always done with other companies, and I have the experience to do. But it's definitely not the primary focus of the company. Um, Working with other companies, I have done a lot of corporate events and convention services and things like that. So I've got that under my belt, and I'm good at it. But it's not my primary focus.
Have you looked into becoming a vendor for the U of I? I know the U of I used to have two travel agencies that they recommended, and those two merged. So I think they just have one now, but they probably use another one.
Yeah, I haven't yet. It is something I want to look into, so I will make note of that and definitely look into it.
Tell me a little bit about how you put together some of these travel packages. Is it places you want to go? Is it demand? Um, where does that come from, and how are you inspired by putting together these packages that you think the transportation will fill?
A lot of it is from experience. I've done in my career, I've done a lot of trips to different places, and I've seen pros and cons of the way things have been put together, and what can be done different to make them more enticable. Like one of the trips, I think it's this page before. Um, yeah, like so one of the trips on here will be the Wild West National Parks tour. That's a 16-day tour, but it covers basically all the western half of the U.S. National parks, California, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and that particular trip, when I worked for a company in Chicago, they did something similar. I'm doing more parks than they did, but they did a similar trip that went out to California, and it was a Polish travel agency, so that everybody would come from Poland to do the trips, and the tour guides all spoke Polish, and they would do two drivers on a bus, and they called it Express West or Express California, and it was so fast moving that they would do the entire tour in 9 days, and it was leaving Chicago Thursday night at 8 p.m., drive all night, no hotel, have the entire day of touring on Friday, and then you would have you get in a hotel. Your hotels every day, basically, other than Reno and Vegas, the hotels every day were getting in about midnight, leaving by 6 a.m. At no point did they follow any DOT regulations, and um, it was even, and the people that would come over because they just assumed they wanted to get through it quickly and do it on their vacation, and the people that would come over would complain because they're just like, this is too fast. Like everywhere they'd go, like go to Mount Rushmore, and they would pay for the bus to get in, and they'd tell everybody they have 20 minutes to do anything they wanted to do there and be back on the bus to leave and go on to the next thing. And that's not the way to see our country is just go go go. So writing the tours, I take a lot of the pieces I like from where places they had been on the tour and what they did, but I also have put the time into figuring out, okay, we need time at these places, people want to enjoy it, and just which is why it's 16 days. I mean, and there's other things in there as well, but it's the plan. Like I said, I've learned a lot of it, just because I've been there and done that, so to speak. So I bring a lot of experience to the table from personal experience, which is something a lot of people don't have. And I focus on, um, giving everybody a great experience, knowledgeable experience, and doing it at a comfortable speed and level for everybody.
Who's your target customer and how are you reaching them?
Um, Target customer is basically anybody that wants to travel, but I tend to, although I put the word family in my business name because I do want to market to families. As a child, when I was growing up, I went on a lot of trips with my grandmother, and one of the things that stuck out to me was the fact that, well, two things. One, traveling at that age, learning about travel made me want to focus my career on that. And that's something that's not so much anymore. Grandparents and families don't do a lot of traveling with their kids nowadays. Everybody just works all the time, and they might take an occasional vacation, but it it's not going to leave anybody interested in the industry in the future, for one. But two, there was a woman that would ride on tour, some of the tours we would go on, that would always complain that I was there. She's like, "This is for seniors. It's not for kids. Why is there kids on this trip?" And the tour planner, particularly in this one group that we would travel with, was the pastor of a church, so he called it Rev's Tours, and I was his assistant on the trip. So instead of him going around, I would be the one going up and down the aisle with like a candy bucket, passing out snacks, and I would, to part of learning it, I always would go with bus drivers to park the bus just to learn more about buses, and um, just, and, so I focused on that, saying, people should travel with their families. And so I put the name in there, not only for the future of my own kids potentially taking over the business, but to, encourage people to travel as a family unit and not so much just themselves. Some trips are, focused, like one trip, the New Year's Eve gala at VIP experience in National Harbor in DC. That one it's available for younger, but it's focused more for adults because of open bars and things like that. Um, but it's definitely something that I try to, leave all trips open for age 4 and up. But I, you know, take whoever's interested in going, basically. As far as marketing, that's part of my struggle, has been that I've done some Facebook stuff, as far as ads, and then I, boost some posts and things, and, I post everything on Facebook. I've got the website currently working on, getting that SEO continues to build, which it is building. As I get more Google reviews, for one, that helps build it, as well as my web design team. They, that's why I continue to get more emails and things through the website for trips nowadays. Um, and some of it is word of mouth. So that's why, even with the smaller groups, I've said, hey, I need to, work with my vendors and make these trips go. Even if I've got 5 people, I need to go, just because if I wait till I get a full bus, then I might wait 2 or 3 years. And so getting that handful of people, like with the Covered Bridge tour, they have, been spreading the information like wildfire. So there's people that reach out and talk now because, oh, my friend went on this trip and had a great time, and they're very interested in what you do and how much more detailed you are than other people they've traveled with and stuff like that. So, even with the Branson trip, again, it's a handful of people going next week, but I worked with my vendors to get the costs down and still be able to go. I mean, I am losing a little on that one, but I'm, the name of the game is lose money to make, or spend money to make money. So I'm like, word of mouth will happen once we go on this trip as well. So that's the main thing right now. I don't have the finances to do further advertising as much as I'd like to.
Kind of piggybacking on that, excuse me, have you considered possibly doing local tours, and doing like a local shopping trip for the upcoming holiday season, presented by LaMere Family Travel, just to kind of get your name out. Once you have everybody on the bus, say, click like, subscribe, like all the things on your social media to get that SEO up, but to kind of give exposure to you, and providing. And Liz had a great recommendation in the chat for retirement communities. We've got retirement communities all over the state. But if you offer even a brewery tour, that would be something that I know my target demographic and me and my friends, we love to travel. And so just having that exposure in front of those individuals for, a few hours on a Saturday, maybe that would work. A local shopping tour, a brewery tour, a winery tour, just something to kind of get your name out locally that wouldn't be a lot of out of pocket, if any out of pocket expense, if you're just partnering with transportation. There was recently in the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area, a Black business tour. And so they partnered with all the Black businesses, they provided lunch, and it was quite successful. So that might be something people that are interested in, especially with the upcoming holiday season and having transportation where I can have a glass of wine while I'm waiting to go to my next stop, and just
Right.
an idea.
Yep, definitely. And actually, I'm personally going to Dubuque tomorrow. The CVB up there invited me up to bring me up and show me around. I mean, I know some about Dubuque, but they're going in detail for the day, to do a local tour, even just to Dubuque. And so I am working on stuff like that. I know I originally planned to do like a Mall of America shopping trip this year, but I never put it together. So it is listed for next year on here, but um, and that's something that can be put together fairly quickly. So I might, try something for December, figure out the best time in December to go up for the weekend or something.
I'd recommend a shop local program as well, because while
Mhm.
that's great, there's so much of a push right now for shopping local, that and getting your name out in your own backyard. I mean, just my 2 cents.
Yep, no, I appreciate it.
Maybe you could partner with a business partnership. I know you're a member there, so.
Yep, and actually we've had conversations about doing a local, like the brewery tour idea locally, as well as just like a bar crawl where we do all the bars that are in the partnership. So we just kind of do a bar hop in the area. So we've had conversations. We just haven't sat down and had been able to get a date and stuff together to try to set that up. So that is in the works.
Yeah, that was something I was just going to suggest. Or talking to the craft beer, the Iowa Craft Beer Group, because some of the breweries are a little bit far flung, and like I don't really feel like driving myself to Decorah to go to Toppling Goliath. But if there were a bus tour that went up there to that and to Pulpit Rock and then back, where I'm not having to drive, that is something I would pay money for, to go up there and see those breweries.
Right.
So yeah, definitely think about talking to the craft brewing group here in Iowa, and then pretty much every state has one as well. But starting here, since you're here,
Right.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, the Iowa Brewers Guild.
Yep.
And I've got a few connections over there if you needed an introduction.
Okay.
But also, I think even more on the kind of side of figuring out logistics of having people get toured around. I don't know if you've spoken with Tom over at VIP Transportation.
I have not.
Okay, but he's involved in the community. He recently helped out with our Barbecue Sea event downtown Davenport. But he would be someone to talk to. He has access to limos and party buses, and so he may be an interesting connection for you as well if you want an introduction there.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. And I believe you have my email anyway, Mike, if you want to send those to me.
Yeah, I'll put that on my to-do here this morning.
Right. Any other questions?
Have there been any, unusual things, unexpected things that happened on any of your trips that of interest that you could talk about?
Not with mine, since I've had my company in my 22 years in the industry. I've definitely seen quite a few things. But I haven't had any personal experiences with my company as of yet. So. I'm
Well,
sure
if there are
that's
no
not
other,
really-
there are
Go
no
ahead.
other
Have-
questions.
I
Do
have
you have
just
one,
one
Erin?
more. I have just
Okay.
one more. I'm just curious. Uh, what what is your favorite part? I know this is kind of a new journey for you being an entrepreneur. So far, what is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
Um, I've just, even when I managed bus companies, I didn't always get people to necessarily listen. And so being able to um, put together things the way I feel they should be done rather than being kind of forced into a certain way. And even, and that's one thing that I've taken away from working with other companies is that I will um, listen to feedback as well. So if anybody I partner with says, "What do you think of this?" or "What do you think of that?" I consider it. I don't immediately shoot it down like a lot of bosses do, um, because I feel everybody should play a part, and people that have experience in certain areas should be able to say, "Hey, what about this?" or "What do you think about this?" Not always will I necessarily do what they've suggested, but as with anything, if you depending on how you feel, but I'll at least listen versus other people being like, that's not your job, don't worry about it. And so that's one thing, that I do take pride in is, listening and working with everybody and being able to do that. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning too, with entrepreneurial side, I was actually a young entrepreneur as well. I started my first business actually when I was 8 years old. Um, and at that point, I had actually started with a produce stand out of my garden on a picnic table by the road, which very quickly within one season outgrew what the garden could handle. And so by the time I was 9, I learned how to do wholesaling with farmers and expanded that way. Um, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the New York State bridge collapse on the New York State Thruway um, back in the early 90s. But that was that bridge collapse was right near the farm that I dealt with, which was a very popular um, farm for produce, and everybody drove there. They ultimately used the bridge next to the farm as the detour while they rebuilt the bridge that collapsed and had to go through his fields, ultimately making the trip from where we lived down to that farm like an hour and a half to go out and around to get to it. People didn't want to travel. That took my business and exploded it because they knew I had his produce, and we went down daily and brought it back. And it was just a huge increase to the business. I continued to expand because I didn't want to be open just in the summer, and I expanded to be like the local convenience store in my neighborhood and built into I actually took over the living room and the bedroom off the front of the house for 2 years until we built an actual storefront out in the yard. And then when I turned 16, the town came in and said, "Hey, this isn't zoned for this." And it was, um, I've been open 8 years. I'm like, okay, you wait 8 years to tell me. But the Walmart was trying to build a distribution center in the neighborhood, and that's what basically sparked it. Was, well, if we let you stay, then Walmart's going to have permission to come in, basically. So I had converted at that point, said, okay, well, instead of just saying, okay, whatever, and shut down, I put the thinking cap on and I went and got a concession trailer, got out of the produce side and added sports apparel novelties and started traveling with fairs all over New England for the next 9 years before I sold it. So I definitely got, building a business background from that.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
No problem. And I put my information up there. So my email and the phone number, website, and all that. And we do a monthly newsletter on the first of every month. So if anybody wants to sign up for the newsletter, you can go to the website. There'll be a form there to do it. Anybody that signs up gets entered in a drawing that we do on the 20th of every month for either a discount on an upcoming trip or a discount on a custom packaging.
Any other questions? All right. So we'll ask the final question. What can we as a community do to support you and your business?
Just, if you want to travel or if you know anybody that does, just share the word. Send them to the website. Trips will be uploaded on there as their package for 2022. And then again, they can do anything custom whenever. I've, got just this past week, I've gotten 3 trips I've got to work on. Plus, I'm working on a destination wedding for next year as well. So just, getting that word out will definitely help. And then again, if you know anybody yourself or anybody else, and then, the same thing, if even if somebody has a trip planned and they want to get insurance for it, they can reach out as well, and I can help them get that to cover. With everything going on, you never know when flights are going to cancel or things are going to change, and you need coverage. So